Hey guys, welcome back. Today I wanted to walk you through the key that I use within my planners. It's essentially my bullet journal key. I have talked about these a little bit in the past, but I've never done like a dedicated walkthrough of what I do for my key. So I thought we would just go through that today and explain how I'm using it. Okay, so I'm just going to draw them out and then explain how I use these particular ones and show you how I'm using them within my Hobonichi cousin. My key is nothing revolutionary. I have not invented the wheel by any means, and my key is also kind of free-flowing. So these are what I'm currently using, but if I find a symbol I prefer, I swap them out pretty regularly. I never have my key posted anywhere because I've been doing this for so long. I find I really don't need to reference it, but for those of you that maybe aren't familiar, really what this is these are the symbols I use to let me see what I've done with that task or information at a glance. So my most commonly used is a check mark, and I use this to mark when a task is complete. Often within like the bullet journal system, people will use a dot to mark that you have a task and then proceed to check it off. I will actually just leave things blank. So an undone task, so for example today I need to film, there's nothing next to it, so I know that's something that I need to do, and then when I've completed it I will go ahead and check it off. Another common like completion signifier that I use is an X, and again you'll see this a lot within the bullet journal community, but the nice thing about an X is you have two lines, right? So sometimes I will start one slash to denote that I've started a task, and then I will do the second slash to denote that I have completed that task. So if you're someone who wants to mark when you start something, if it's going to take you a lot of time, or know that you've kind of put something in process but haven't closed it out yet, that's another great one to do. I use the check mark and the X intermittently. It just sort of depends on which I am preferring. So I think if you look at like this week in particular, I was using an X versus a check mark, and then over here I was using a check mark. So it really just sort of depends on the day. The next thing that I do is I will mark when I migrate a task from like today to tomorrow. I'm not going to complete it, and I just do a double arrow pointing to the right. I think a lot of people do a single arrow. I think a single arrow looks a little bit lonely, so I give it a friend. I think I saw Randy from Randy.plans draw this. I think she uses those to mark when she like needs to go somewhere like an errand or something, but I just thought it was super cute. So now all of my migrated forwards are paired up, and I like how that looks. So let me show you an example of what that looks like here in my weeks. So right here you'll see that there is a double arrow to the right, double arrow to the right, and that just means that I didn't complete it on the spread, and I went ahead and migrated that onto the next spread. Another signifier that I will do is the same, just pointed backwards. And I think within like your standard bullet journal key, a backwards facing arrow means that you've scheduled it. To me, that means I pushed it back to my weekly. So when I migrate forward, I'm saying it went from Saturday to Sunday's to-do list. If I migrate it back, it means I'm not going to do it tomorrow, and I moved it back on my weekly spread. So if I migrate something back, it typically means that that task is sitting here on my weekly spread uncompleted, so it's typically in like this running list. Or if it was something I thought of that day, I'm not going to get to it today, I can't get to it tomorrow, but I need to accomplish it this week, and it's not already on this spread, then I will go ahead and add it to my weekly to-do list. That way I know, hey, I am aware of that item, it lives somewhere else, so I'm not going to lose it. Another symbol that I use quite a bit is a circle. So this is what I use to mark events and appointments. So to me, an event or appointment basically means I have to leave my house for that, or I need to be like on a call at a specific time. So I will do an open circle to mark that I've got the event. If it is canceled, I will just like cross through it. And then if I complete that event, like I run that errand, I will fill it in so it is a filled in circle. So I think yesterday, Thursday, I had to go get groceries. So you'll see I have a closed end circle. So I did go get the groceries. Within my weekly spreads, I have been using a Zig clean dot marker to make just like a gray dot for my events versus actually drawing in the circle. So I kind of use those interchangeably, but when it comes to like rapid logging and I don't want to have multiple pens, the open circle is sort of my go-to. So I mentioned that when an event is canceled or I don't get to it, I just sort of draw a line through it. So I actually use a line as my universal canceled symbol. So if there's a task I didn't get to and I've determined it's actually not something I need to do, I will go ahead and cross through it. Sometimes I cross through both like my symbol space and all the way through the text, like that is completely canceled. Sometimes I just draw a dash like where my check mark would go, and let's see if I have a good example of that. A lot of people use the dash as a note, like note signifier, but I am terrible at drawing dashes like straight. They're always a little wonky, as you can see here. So it's just not something that I do a lot. So I like using it just to say, hey, that task is canceled. Another symbol you might see in my planner is a triangle kind of pointing to the right, and to me that just means YouTube. So typically that means I have a video scheduled for that day. The dot I use as a note. So this lets me know, hey, this is informational. It's not a task. It's not something I need to do. And if that note takes up multiple lines, I'll actually just draw a line with like a little bracket to close it off. So I know that there is info on like multiple rows like that. So that you'll see a ton in my planner. So over here, I made a note that the admissions place is open for drive up and no appointments are required. So instead of leaving this box here blank, I actually just draw a line to say, hey, all of that is a note. So that way I know that there's not a blank box next to the second line and I think it's a task, like this is a task. Another couple signifiers I use are kind of like two different variations on like a star. So this is like a twinkle is what I call it. And that's kind of like if I was marking in a holiday, like we just had Martin Luther King Day, that was something that I would use. Or I'll draw more like a traditional 5-pointed star. And this is what I use to mark birthdays in my weekly. Another one you'll see me use a ton is a heart. And this just means that I am noting like a memory or a little moment, just something that I want to remember about that day. This is essentially like my memory keeping designator. And like looking at my weekly, everything here on the right, these are like my highlights of the day. These are all like notes and memories, and I like putting a heart in front of it. I could just write these in because this whole column is memories, but it's just something that I've kind of been doing over the last few years, and I feel like it's really consistent. I'll even add notes into the various section of my setup, but the heart just lets me know, hey, this is a memory. Another one I use frequently is like a music note. So I just do like a dot, a line, and a tail, and that's how I mark it, like a song. If I listen to a song all day on repeat, or there's an album that released that I listen to all day, or just like there's something about my day that I really want to connect to that song or remember that song, this is what I use to do that. So it's just sort of a different variation on like a memory, but a little bit more specific. Another one I use regularly is a $sign, and this is just what I'll do if I need to write down spending. Sometimes I will write down when I purchase something, so as I'm flipping through I could see, oh, how long did that take to get to me, or I'll draw attention to the fact like, hey, you spent some money this week, so maybe you need to cool it on some other purchases. Another thing that you'll see a lot in my planner that looks a lot like the info, but that is a dot to the left of my checkbox column. So often it will look like this. This dot to me just signifies that it's a work task, because I do tend to blend my personal to-dos and my work to-dos in one place because I can't help myself. I think Melanie said once, I have one life, I have one planner, and that resonates. But basically what this lets me know is as I'm skimming through my to-do list, these are work things. So they help me kind of disregard if I'm not currently working or draw my attention to these tasks during work hours. So That's what I do for that. Sometimes I'll take a highlighter and make a dot next to the task as well. I don't think I have any to show you this month, but that means it's a goal related task, and I typically just use like a Tombow to do a dot for that. So different ways to identify. A new one for me over the last couple months has been like a little cross here, and I will use this to mark medical information. So like lately I have been having some back pain, so if I note that, I've been doing it with a little plus. So right here on Wednesday, back pain, back was sore, and I just did that. Now if I have like an actual doctor's appointment, it's going to show up as like an event, but like if I'm having like pain or symptoms, I will track it with this little like red cross type of signifier. The last one I want to talk about is an asterisk, and this is what I use to mark that information is indexed. So when you're flipping through like my daily logs, for example, see how there's like a little asterisk next to this pen recommendation. Basically, this means that this information has been indexed up front, and I can look for it here. And the reason I find that helpful is as I'm looking for my information that was indexed, I see that pen rec is on page 43. Flipping to page 43, there's a lot of information on this page, but now I'm just skimming for an asterisk. So then I'm like, oh, there it is. So it just helps me kind of find information between my index and my like log style bullet journaling a little bit easier, since I don't put like that type of information all on one page. It all sort of ends up like in line with like my to-dos and everything else. So overall, this is my key. These are the symbols you'll see pretty regularly within my planners. I use this in my Hobonichi cousin, my Hobonichi weeks, and when I do like a traditional bullet journal, these are the ones that I am frequently using. So hopefully that helped. If you guys have any questions, let me know down below. I guess for reference, this is a jelly roll, Sakura jelly roll in the size 10. It's a really large point white gel pen, and these are Post-it brand black sticky notes. I got this off of Amazon, probably got this off of Jet Pens, but I will link both down below if you are looking for them. So if you made it this long, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.